Honestly, that's what they should have used for the theme song for this show. Lost in Space, a Netflix original TV series. This series is a second attempt at a reboot for the Lost in Space franchise, a series that ran for 3 seasons in the 60s. I want to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. First off, we need to talk about the first 2 episodes, because the first 2 episodes are the main setup for the whole thing. The first episode, we get introduced to the main cast, which is the Robinson family. The father, John, these days is less of a professor and more of an army hard nut, and for some reason they've made him look like Dr. Cox from Scrubs when he went through a beardy phase. His wife, Maureen Robinson, is way more of the brains of the operation in this series. She designed parts of the ship, she's an engineer, and she also comes across as a slightly unhinged mother. I don't think unhinged is what they were aiming for, but that's what you get. They've brought their children along for the ride. You got Judy, Penny and Will Robinson. Judy is a young doctor in training. She's also the product of a previous relationship and not John's biological daughter. But it's not too much of a big deal. Penny is the smart-ass daughter. She's the one with all the cheeky one-liners and steals a lot of the show for me. She's actually my favourite character. Finally, you have young Will Robinson, a smart kid who's clearly in way over his head and becomes friends with an alien robot. The first episode hits the ground running. We begin with the crash landing, and before you're given a chance to think, this is a bit weird, we're not seeing any build-up to this takeoff for this explorative journey, it becomes very clear that this show is doubling down on what has become a cliche in TV dramas, and that is the use of flashbacks. That old TV show Lost has a lot to answer for. It is very much responsible for this trope that has now seeped into many TV shows. And yes, you can even make the obvious joke that this is Lost in space. But it actually is. Just replace anything supernatural and weird with something alien and annoying. And is it me, or have they used the same font as Lost? I think they did. Episode 2 introduces us to Dr. Smith and Don West, and this was when the show started to open up and the world got a bit bigger. Don West is a really fun character. You can tell they've tried to make him a Han Solo type, but whereas Han Solo had Chewbacca, they've given him a chicken called Debbie. Dr. Smith, this time around, is a woman, and an evil woman at that. You could even say a little bit too evil, so blatantly evil that she may as well be twirling a moustache. The tone of this show is very similar to that of Star Trek Discovery. It has the same look, it has the same feel. You could believe that this was a prequel series, much in the same way as Enterprise was. It even has a very similar intro to Star Trek Enterprise, just doesn't have the awesome theme song. It's been a long road, getting from there to here. I like Faith of the Heart. Fuck you. The special effects in this show are top-notch and at times rather beautiful. There's some reasonable storytelling going on and consistency as well, which I think is important. There's a character that goes through a near-death experience that in other TV shows would just be brushed off by the next episode. But here, there's an element of PTSD that makes it all the more believable. The family dynamic is also something that works for the most part. There's an awards-baiting father-son speech that happens that feels like bathing in treacle, it's so saccharine. The robot is of course still part of the series. Of course, this time around he doesn't get called Robbie, which is a bit of a shame. But the robot isn't as fun as any of the original series or even the previous movie. This time around it's kind of a menacing presence. The friendship that the robot and young Will Robinson develop is rather likeable. It's just the robot itself doesn't have much of a personality, especially when compared to its franchise predecessors. I will say that the robot in this series is much more integral to the plot of the whole thing rather than just a punchline for a bunch of jokes. And there's not really a lot of jokes to be found in this region of space unless Penny is the one making them. I do feel that this show could have had a bit more fun injected into it. Because there are kids around, this is a family show. It doesn't go to too dark of a place. And you can feel its restraint with where it doesn't want to go to. And because of that, it's hard to take too seriously. I'd have liked this show to have made a decision into what it was, rather than trying to make this balance in a sci-fi limbo. If you like the first 2 episodes of the show, I don't think you'll be disappointed by the time you get to the end. If you didn't like the first 2 episodes of the show, maybe give it up to episodes 4 or 5, then you can decide whether you'd want to finish it or not. To rate this, personally, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'm not going to watch the whole thing again, and I'll probably watch season 2, but I'm not exactly excited for it. But what did you think about the new Lost in Space TV series from Netflix? Comment with your thoughts below, and while you're down there, hit subscribe and like the video. If give it a share on Facebook and Twitter, and if you can, please donate to the coffee link also in the description. Thanks for watching Matt Blair Reviews. I'll see you again next time.